Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Reset. I am your host, Andre Clay. Want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Also, thank everyone for tuning in last week and the weeks prior. We really appreciate that. Any past episodes of the Reset that you have missed, please feel free to Google the resetonline.com. That's the resetonline.com. It will take you directly
Sure.
to the YouTube page where you will be able to view past viewings. On today's show, got a really special show for you today. Refund on the defund. Is it progress or more pandering? Today's show will be a call-in show, and we have a very special guest. Today's guest is a longtime friend of mine, community activist from Aurora, Illinois, Mr. Brandi Gilliam. Say what's up, partner.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? What's up? What's good?
All right, all right. Again, today's show is a call-in show. So towards the maybe the last 15 minutes of the show, we will allow folks to call in. If you have any questions, concerns about the topic of today, any questions or concerns with our guest or myself, again, please feel free to call in. That number is 708-414-0849. Again, that's 708-414-0849. And with that being said, let the show begin. Now, let's say about a month or so into our protest against police brutality and the lack of accountability, it seems as though we are starting to see some police departments adopt reform measures. Um, Question is, however, is this progress or is this more pandering? Um, we have seen some cities, and on last week's show, I did bring up some of these cities and some of the reforms that they've adopted. For instance, in Camden, New Jersey, um, we had a total and complete overhaul and reboot of the local police department, including throwing out the union contracts. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, they banned chokeholds. Seattle, Washington, they banned the chokeholds and the use of tear gas. In San Diego, they banned the chokeholds. In Denver, they actually banned the use of pepper spray, tear gas, rubber bullets, and other projectiles against peaceful protesters. So I've noticed when the media is reporting on this, however, that I don't know, it kind of gives the impression that elected officials and uh, these folks are just taking on these reforms just out of the kindness of their hearts. But I think the accurate thing is that the pressure from the public, pressure from community activists and advocates is really what's making this happen. And probably one of the first initiatives I saw was put out by an organization called Project Zero, and they had something called Eight Can't Wait. Eight Can't Wait was an initiative where they had eight different programs, eight different demands rather that local officials, mayors, governors had started adopting. And I would see in different news reports, eight can't wait, eight can't wait. And, they chanting this and and everything. So I had to find out what it is. And I'm going to take everybody with me to the Eight Can't Wait page. Let me share this screen with everyone. Okay, here. Okay, and as we go to the top of the page, Eight Can't Wait Project Campaign Zero. Um, this is initially done a couple of months ago, but basically it's a campaign to bring immediate change to police departments. As it says on the website, over the past week, we've heard from communities across the country who, like us, have demanded radical transformative change that moves beyond policing as key to public safety. We've seen dozens of cities adopt the goals of 8 Can't Wait, policies that can reduce the harm caused by police in the short term. And while we are proud of the impact we were able to make, we at the Campaign Zero acknowledge that even with the best of intentions, 8 Can't Wait campaign unintentionally detracted from efforts of fellow organizers invested in parad, parad I can't even say it, paradigmatic shifts that are newly possible in this moment. Again, this website right here is more I thought more of a resource for folks to find out what reforms were being made in their cities and some of the initiatives that they have here. Um, Immediate harm reduction, use of force policies, demilitarization, DOJ consent DOJ consent decrees, police union contracts. In the comprehensive community safety category, they have divest from police, invest in community, including housing, jobs, and education, pay living wages, dramatically reduce jail and prison populations, restorative justice. And in the abolition section, we have fund community safety, fully defund police in the carceral state, and resource healthy community practices and needs. Research shows more restrictive use of force policies can reduce killings by police and save lives. Tell your city to adopt all 8 of these policies. And as we see here, we have the banning of the chokeholds and strangleholds, require de escalation, require warning before shooting, requires exhaust all alternatives before shooting, duty to intervene, ban shooting at moving vehicles, require use of force continuum, require comprehensive reporting. On this website, and I've done it as an example here, you can actually look up the city that you are in or closest to. And as an example, since we're closer to the Chicago, Illinois, we put in Chicago, and here we can see that in Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot has adopted with the green check marks, banning of chokeholds and strangleholds. She is required de-escalation, requires warning before shooting, requires exhaust all alternatives before shooting, duty to intervene, and has use of force continuum. Now let me get back to the show here. Okay, we're back. Now I've heard, or rather, I've watched other podcasts concerning the 8 Can't Wait initiatives, and I've seen that there's a lot of resistance to it, of course, by police departments, um, and by some folks who just feel that defunding the police is the wrong approach or unnecessary. But we're still seeing it done by some mayors and some governors, and but again, the question remains: is this progress or is it more pandering? Now, to bring it a little closer to home, I wanted to introduce to you guys Mr. Brandi Gilliam. Again, he's an activist from Aurora, Illinois. Again, the media does not give any voice to those folks who have boots on the ground, actually applying the pressure that's needed to see the types of reforms that we want to see from these police departments. And with that being said, I'm going to allow my brother Brandy to introduce who he is and talk to you about a little bit about what he does and how long he's been doing it. So, Brandy, take it away, my brother.
Hey, what's up? Y'all know me as Brandi or KIK from the Po Bump Society, a local hip hop group here. I got into activism basically just from watching my mom and my stepdad do things in the community. Like they started a local boys club, girls club. They took us out fishing. We had car washes up in Eastwood and stuff like that. We carol in the wintertime, singing at houses and stuff like that. And then when I was in junior high, I met Dr. Smith and Reuben Fellows, and like they got us involved by taking us down to City Hall to protest meetings with the aldermen and black preachers and stuff in Aurora. And then from there, we just kept doing it.
Okay. With the latest protest, given the death of our brother George Floyd and the subsequent protest riots that we've seen, what got you and what got you motivated to fight for the citizens of Aurora concerning the law enforcement there?
Well, me and members of the Po Bum Society, like we've always been involved in the community. So this is just a natural outreach. Like we were already doing it, and then it's just kind of knocked on the door. And one of the main things is people need to understand with the Aurora police, people think they're changing because they're sympathetic and things are nice. And no, they're changing because grassroots organizations have been applying pressure, constant pressure on the aldermen, state representatives, the mayor, and like the police chief. And that's the main thing. We have to keep applying the pressure. And one of the main things is when grassroots organizations start to form, you might have 3, 4, 5 of them, but there's always infighting and conflict, or sometimes the other side will send somebody in to dismantle the organization. So, like you have to be careful and always just stick to the focus, because a lot of, for instance, not here to criticize anybody that's trying to bring light to the issue or trying to make the issue, spotlight the issue. But at the same time, we need aim, purpose, and focus. We need an objective. And a lot of people, they're not doing this for the people. Like they're not trying to help the people. They're not trying to apply pressure. They want to be seen in the spotlight. It's like it's all about them. But when you do this, it's not about you. It's about the people, because you are representing the people and stuff like that. So just try not to get caught up in you're up here and like the people and stuff are down here. Now you down here in the mud and trenches with the people, representing the people. To, how can I say this? You are the voice for those who are voiceless.
Right.
But some of us just want to speak and be heard and don't have a game plan, don't have an agenda. Like we just want to be up in the spotlight. And like I think that's wrong. And right now up in Aurora, it's a very pivotal time because we have a short window to try to get shit done. Like before they be like, you know what, we're not doing shit. Right. And it's like we need everybody to focus on the game plan. And like the main goal is police accountability. That's the main thing that like we're trying to focus here up in Aurora. Like everybody's trying to get grant money or backdoor money or run a program. Like we're not here for that. Like that comes later. Right now we want police accountability. That's the main thing.
Gotcha. With some of the reforms that I had mentioned that's happening around the city, before we get more focused on what's been happening locally, what are your thoughts on some of these reforms that we're seeing from the Defund the Police movement? Are you seeing these as sincere efforts by elected officials, or just them applying band-aids over wounds that need stitches?
I think they're in fear because their position or their seat in city council can be replaced. So what you have some pandering, and then you have some crumbs that we're going to give you this to satisfy you until election time, because on paper it looks good. Mm-hmm. If you're running for a campaign or mayor, alderman, it's good talking points for your campaign. But at the end of the day, what's really being done? For instance, I read an article in one city made police reform in less than 30 days.
Yeah.
There's cities that are doing this overnight, less than 60 days.
Yeah.
Only here in Aurora does the mayor, Richard Irving, want to have a citywide tour where we go to each community and ask them what they feel about the police.
Right. We'll get him. We'll get
All right.
we're gonna get into that. Yeah. Yeah. I was really
So I kind of feel some of it is good, and people like they need to realize when, like you say, defund the police. A lot of people think the police are not going to have gas in their cars, like they're not going to get paid. No, defund the police means this. For instance, the Aurora Police Department has an annual budget of over $70 million.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it 70,000? Is it 70 million?
I heard it's 70 million.
All right. Between 70 million and 77 million. Mm-hmm. Defund the police means instead of giving them $70 million, you might give them $50 million. Then the other 20 million, you give that to the schools, project developments, programs, and stuff like that. So like defund the police doesn't mean like the police won't have a job. Like it just means they don't need that excess money, and all that excess money can be actually funneled back into the community to do some actual good. Because Aurora Police Department has maybe, let's say, 300 officers, right? You got your squad cars, you got all this stuff. $70 million. Come on, man. Yeah. So you can even take 1 million and do something. You can go to Eastwood, Indian Trail, give the money back to the people that really need it, have a program and initiative, something. But that what defund the police means. It doesn't mean you're going to take all of the money away from the police. Like it just means that money could be used to better serve the community instead of buying armored tanks and shit like that.
Right. Yeah, reallocating the funds. That was basically what I got out of when I was reading all of the different demands had by different organizations under the defund the police moniker. Yeah, some people heard the word defund and thought that just meant just taking money and resources away, and now we got police officers on Skid Row. But no, that's not it
because if somebody breaks into your house and you come home and your stuff is all ravaged through, you're gonna call the police and be like, hey, this is what happened. So like defund the police doesn't mean we take all the money and instead of having a bulletproof vest and a gun, you get a t-shirt and like a Kango to wear down the street. Nah, it doesn't mean that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just reallocating the sources to better serve the community at hand. That's what that means.
Absolutely. Well, to put it more on a local side of things, I want to read for everybody. Brandi mentioned the mayor of Aurora, and Aurora definitely made national news when the protests were happening here.
Everybody talk about that.
Everybody, yeah. And we've had of course, just like any other city, we've seen the pressure applied. We've seen some destruction. We've seen some looting, but for the most part, the protesting has been peaceful. Let me read for you guys something that I came across this article to kind of spotlight what can happen, or the start of what can happen once pressure is applied. Give me just a second. Let's share this screen again. Okay. All right. Can we see this here, Brandi?
Yes, I can.
All right, guys. This article right here, it comes off of patch.com. This article is under the crime and safety. Officer complaints, discipline to be made public. Aurora Chief. The city is creating an online portal to publish information on complaints against officers and investigations into police misconduct. This article here is dated June 11th, 2020. Aurora, Illinois. The Aurora Police Department is set to make it easier for residents to learn about investigations into police misconduct. Chief Kristen Zeman said Thursday in a letter posted on Facebook. City employees are creating an online portal to publish information about complaints against officers, the results of internal investigations conducted by the department's Office of Professional Standards, Zeman said. The portal is expected to be launched within the next 2 weeks. Previously, the department only made information about OPS investigations available through the Freedom of Information Act request. The Aurora Police Department has been the site of multiple protests over the past 2 weeks, calling for police reform and an end to police brutality against Black people. Protesters demonstrated outside APD headquarters May 31st before marching to the Chicago premium outlets and then downtown. Activists organized another demonstration June 3rd after an Aurora resident was arrested at his home and charged with 2 misdemeanors before Mayor Richard Irvin and Zeman dropped the charges against him the next morning. Residents have also organized small protests throughout the city to support the Black Lives Matter movement and calls for police reform. Now, earlier this week, Irvin released a 4-point change reform initiative, including reviews of the Aurora Police Department's use of force and training policies. He also announced the city is working to equip all officers with body cameras. In her letter Thursday, Zeman said the department started buying body cameras this week. Zeman also said she would support the creation of a civilian review board, the 4th point in Irvin's new initiative, if it, quote, assists in building trust and transparency, unquote. The Civilian Review Board is a body of composed of citizen representatives that is charged with investigating complaints about misconduct by police officers. Quote, law enforcement as a whole has failed our Black and brown brothers and sisters, and it shouldn't have, Zeman wrote. As a leader in the law enforcement community, I am sorry for injustices and pain that some in our profession have caused individuals and their families nationwide. However, Zeman defended Aurora Police from comparisons with the 4 officers charged in connection with George Floyd's death last month in Minneapolis. Quote, I believe we are making progress at APD, but over the past 2 weeks, many have painted our profession with the same broad brush, Zeman wrote. The murder of George Floyd at the hands of 4 police officers is inexcusable, and I am disgusted by it. But this is not reflective of all police officers. The Aurora Police Department has not responded to multiple requests from Patch for information about Office of Professional Standards reviews of use of force incidents during the May 31st protests in Aurora. And as I come back to the show, Brandi,
Let me break this down.
what happened since then?
Let me break this down. It's 2020. The Aurora Police Department is just now talking about body cams.
Yeah.
But Chief Zeman claimed that this is a progressive police department. Richard Irving unveiled a 4-point change program. If you're progressive, then why all of a sudden you got the change program? And people need to understand these changes, subtle changes and major changes are happening not because they wanted to. It's because the people, the grassroots applied pressure on their ass.
Right.
Applied pressure. That's the only reason this is happening. And then if you notice in the statement you just read, one of our first demands were that Richard Irving and Zeman had to apologize, especially to the Black and Latino community, for the brutal and harsh treatment that the police have issued to Blacks and Latinos over the past 25 years.
Right.
In that statement, she apologized globally for the profession, but she has still not apologized locally, publicly to the Black and Latino community here. Also, Richard talks about a review board. That's smoke and mirrors, right? How old are you, Dre?
50.
All right. I'm 46. So this might have happened around 95 or 96. I'm not sure. People in Aurora said that they wanted to have a civilian citizen review board. And this review board would have the power to discipline officers who ran foul of the conduct laws of the police department.
Okay.
The police union, and this is in the Beacon News, the police union was like, fuck it, we're not doing it. So they went down to City Hall and they protested and picketed. And they said, since y'all want to do that, we are not writing tickets. So for a month and a half, no tickets were written in Aurora, and tickets are a major revenue source for the city of Aurora, right? And so the police union was so petty that they wouldn't write tickets for damn near a month and a half, and they protested City Hall because people wanted a civilian review board. Now they say we're going to look into a civilian review board. Mark my words. If the civilian or citizen review board does not have authority or teeth to actually discipline officers, it's just a bunch of people up on a panel talking about, hey, it looks bad. But the thing is, it has to have authority to actually discipline them. And then that has to be implemented up in a police station to say, look, this police officer was foul. He needs to be disciplined. But if the board does not have teeth or authority to do it, it's like a butter biscuit. It looks good on paper, but actually, is it going to be good for the community? And so people need to understand that. And also with the 4-point change program that Richard initiated or whatever, he did this at a city hall press conference Wednesday or Thursday, right?
Okay.
Peep this out. If other cities are doing police reform in less than 60 days overnight, there's no need to have a 4-point change program. That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Those are, excuse me, those are delay tactics to have people ease over. It's cool. We're going to give you this and draw this out. And hopefully the momentum from the movement will die down. That's all that is. Because do you think that people tore up downtown Aurora or 500 people came to the police station because they like these motherfuckers? Nah, we have a demand list. Sharonda's crew also have a demand list, and these demands came from the people. So the people have already spoken. We don't need to do a citywide Jay-Z tour to see what the community, we want to see what the community wants to do. No. These are delay tactics. The main thing is this: police accountability. You have the demands. Are you going to do them or are you not going to do them? That's the main thing. So everything else that they're talking about is some political pandering, political bullshit, and like it's some delay tactics.
Well, you know, we have definitely seen a lot of resistance as well from law enforcement. All kind of different reports about how in different cities where reforms have been adopted, we see police officers quitting.
Yes.
We see them just flat out walking off the job. If they can't abuse us the way they want to, I quit. That's the message.
You know how deep that is?
Public, yeah.
Police are saying if we can't knock niggas in the head, kill them when we want to, harass them, kick in their doors, and kill their girlfriends, we'll quit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, man. So reform has to happen.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And again, you know, that pressure that the public needs to continue to put on the elected officials and law enforcement. It has to continue. It has to keep happening. And to give an example of the kind of pressure that that needs to be put, I wanted for you, Brandi, to read for us your letter of demand, and how did you come about comprising some of the initiatives you have in your in the letter of demand, and yeah, just give us some more info about that.
Well, our demand list is like 29 points, 29 demands and sub demands. We
Okay.
met at a group. We met at a park with a small group of people, and we brainstormed, jotted down our demands, and then we went to Facebook and we asked people on Facebook, "What does real comprehensive police reform look like to you?" So they typed it out, posted it, and so I took all of those 2 pages, went home, organized it, and that's the demand list. So like the demand list isn't from me, it's from the people of Aurora, the
Gotcha.
citizens
Right.
of Aurora. So I'll just read you a couple demands. The
Okay.
first demand was Richard Irving and Chief Zeman must publicly acknowledge and apologize for the pain, abuse, and suffering that the Aurora Police Department has inflicted on the Black and Latino community for decades. If this condition is not met in its entirety, then there is no need for further talks. Richard has apologized. The chief has not apologized. That's why Chief Zeman has to go.
Gotcha.
She has to go because she's still trying to save face. So there's no time for that. The other one is Aurora police officers, including the top brass, must live in the city limits of Aurora and or no further than 2 miles outside of the city limits of Aurora. We feel like if a police officer arrests you, then he bumps into you at Walmart, he might treat you just a little better. You know what I mean? And also there's a sense of community if they actually live here instead of you live here, but you drive back to Naperville somewhere. Like, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The other one was Officer O'Brien must be removed. He has to go. That motherfucker is a domestic.
Who is Officer Brian? For those who know.
Well, I first thought he was the president of the police union, but he's not the president of the police union. He's the president of the Fraternal Order of Police in Aurora.
Okay.
And then there's another person named Lee who is actually the president of the police union. If you know Officer Brian, this motherfucker has been a domestic terrorist. He's a rogue white boy with a badge who has terrorized Eastwood, Indian Trail, Westwood, South Wind, May Street, JC, any place in Aurora, anybody that has come in contact with this dude has a fucking horror story. He's been terrorizing niggas for the past 25 years. You know, so like you can't say the police department is progressive when this motherfucker is still in the force. You know what I'm saying? He has to go. Another demand was police union contracts must be made available for the general public to review. When I start doing some research, nearly all police contracts are done behind closed doors, and like the public doesn't know what's up in the contract. But what people don't know, sometimes what's added in the contract is after a certain amount of years, if police have discipline problems or merits on their contract, I mean on their job, that gets wiped out. So let's say I have an harassment complaint against me, and then I have another complaint against me. Let's say I racked up 6 of them. Well, when we do the new contracts, and after a certain time, that gets wiped from my record. You know what I'm saying? So like we believe and feel that the public has a right to know what's in these contracts, even the fine print. You know what I mean? And I think that's more transparency, and that will also hold the police union to a higher standard. Like instead of just you do a contract and like you go back and forth with the police station. No, show the public what the contract is so we know what to expect and why you are acting like that. Another demand was the Aurora Police Department must demilitarize within the next 2 years. I say that at the protests on Sunday when everything went crazy, I was across the street at Walgreens with Sadiq. A couple of people have broken into the Walgreens and they escaped with beer and wine and pop. But there was one brother still up in there. So the police showed up in their tactical gear, right? Then maybe 10 minutes later, I don't know what the fuck this was. It looked like a goddamn Decepticon. This big ass truck. I'm 5'11". I'm looking up at the windows, right?
Right.
6 or 8 dudes, they jumped out. Call of Duty the fuck down.
Right.
Camouflage you down, visors, clips, guns the size of your goddamn grandma, man. I mean, this shit was serious. They jumped out. They pulled out the dogs. The goddamn dogs started marching with them, man.
That's wild.
Who needs that shit in a roar? And it looked like goddamn Optimus Prime or something. Like the truck was so damn big. I'm 5'11", and like I'm staring at it. Man, these motherfuckers got out, Call of Duty down, guns the size of a goddamn watermelon, man. Yeah. And the dogs came out marching. I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. That has to go. That is not policing. You know what I'm saying? That's a military state right there. That shit has to go. You know what I'm saying? And I say the last one would be this. Let's see. Oh, law enforcement settlement should not come from the taxpayers. It should come out of the police department's pension fund. So if a police does something lawlessly and he's found guilty, it should not come from the taxpayers. It should come out of their pension fund. And then once they fill it in their pocket, they might act a little better, you know, because most white people only fear the loss of life, the loss of property, and the loss of money. You know what I'm saying? So once you start hitting them up in their pocket, they might, you know, come to your car in a civilized tone. They might not handcuff you, beat you up and shit like that. So like we just think those points are very vital and very important, like when it comes to this. So those are just some of the demands we have.
I would have to agree with you, man. I'm with you. Those same demands, again, they're a lot like much of the other demands that we're seeing across the country. You know, these are legitimate demands that the public, the community, have decided that, hey, we want these departments to adopt these initiatives right here. This is what will improve community relations.
Can I say something, Dre?
Sure.
You just said these are similar to demands that are all across the country right now, right?
Sure.
How come only in Aurora we act like this is not an issue? You know what I'm saying?
You know, I'm getting to that. That in a minute. You know, and again, we it has a lot to do with the resistance that we're seeing. I wanted to ask you in relation to the demands that you just read us, what more can the public do to help ensure that these initiatives are adopted by our elected officials in the police department? What more can the public do, in your opinion?
First thing that everybody needs to do is get informed. We have a lot of people out here, so-called community activists or leaders, that's giving off false numbers and stuff like that, but they're not informed. The main thing is to get informed of what's exactly going on with City Hall, with the police station, and with the state legislature. But locally here, the first thing is to get informed. The second thing is to find out who your alderman is. Call them and apply pressure. Like, you need to understand something. City Hall works for you. You don't work for them. They work for you. Call your alderman and tell them your concerns and keep applying pressure. Call the mayor, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Apply pressure. The main thing is to be informed, get in contact with who's ever in your ward, and apply pressure. I don't care if you paint, if you DJ, if you change radiators, whatever you do, that's part of the goddamn struggle, but do it and be focused. The main focus is we want police accountability. So when you call them and apply pressure, be like, hey, we want police accountability, and keep applying pressure, because the brother that got arrested, his name was Jabari, I think, Jabari, he got arrested up in front of his children, and the only reason he was released is because people on Facebook applied that damn pressure, and he got released. And so the main thing is apply pressure and make these motherfuckers say we're not gonna do it.
Now, when you say apply pressure, what did the pressure look like? Because I do remember flooding the Facebook with messages, comments, the websites to the mayor and the chief of police. What are some of the other, what is applying the pressure? What does that specifically look like?
Well, what some people did, the video that his wife showed, we played that video and kept sharing that video every hour on the hour. We also called the alderman. We also called the mayor. We also called the police department, and we kept the topic alive in social media, because y'all don't know, social media is very powerful, but like we kept it alive in social media. And then this happened, I think, less than 24 hours after they fucked up downtown Aurora. And so they were scared that this could ignite and spark some more shit downtown Aurora. You know what I'm saying? Downtown Aurora was hit. That's money. You know what I'm saying? So they were like, okay, let's try to work this out. But the thing is, even when they let the brother go and they released a statement, they never apologized about what happened. But applied pressure is whatever you do. Everybody has a lane up in the revolution. So like whatever you do, keep doing it. But your focus is at those who can actually change policy. For instance, a police officer in a car driving down the street, you can yell and cuss at him all you want to, but he doesn't have the power to change policy. You want to direct the frustration at those who have the ability to change policy. So the mayor, like the police chief, like the top brass, state's attorney, state's representatives, they change policy. On the local level, like the mayor has power, but he's not that powerful. So you might have to go over his head to the state's attorney, or you might have to go higher to the state representatives, or you might have to call the Department of Justice and be like, hey, we think we need a decree up in this camp. You know what I'm saying? So like whatever lane you play, keep playing it, but apply pressure is social media, physical contact, calling on the phone, turning your art into a voice. If you rap, if you paint, you do poetry, you do music, you do podcasts, making your art into a vehicle for change. You know what I'm saying? Because the revolution is just not Black Panthers out there wearing gear. The revolution is wherever you could fit in to help your people. Like if you had a soup kitchen and like you feeding somebody, that's part of the revolution. You know what I'm saying? So apply pressure on all levels and all fronts. You know what I mean?
All right. That's what's up, man. I greatly appreciated that. Folks, again, today's show is a call-in show. Today's number is 708-414-0849. Again, that's 708-414-0849. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, opinions about today's show, the refunding on the defund, is it progress or more pandering? Please feel free to call in. Brandi, I'm gonna read a couple of these comments in the comments section. We got John Blossom Game gave us a shout out. Ms. Geneva Pinson is asking, where can we find the demand list?
I can email it to you and I'll put it on my Facebook. I'll put it on Facebook again.
Okay.
We didn't put it on Facebook at first because it wasn't public yet. You know, certain people had it, so they were checking it out for us, but now it's public, so I can email it to you or just go to my Facebook page and inbox me. I can give it to you.
Okay. Well, we have our first caller. Looks like on the line. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Let me make sure I can get this volume up for you.
Hold on.
All right. There we go. What's your name and where you calling from, and what question do you have, my man?
My name is Terrence. What's up, Brandi? This is Moose. I'm calling from St. Louis.
What's up, man?
I live in St. Louis now. But I was just calling. Me and Brandi spoke earlier. And we was talking about some of these things or whatever or whatnot. And one of the things I just want to add is one of the things I've been saying is like, we got a window right now, and in this window is a make or break window, because in this window we're either going to change this shit forever, or either it's going to go back to the old way, and when it goes back to the old way, they're going to circle back around and come back harder. So in this window we got, of course, that these cities, and it's all over the U.S. But of course they're going to try stall tactics. They're going to try to to say, oh, we're going to do this, and try to kick that can down the road, because they're fighting the change that they know is upon them. So, and then when you were talking about a lot of these officers that are quitting, you got to think about this. Police officers has had almost a godlike complex, bro.
Yeah.
They have the ability to take your freedom, to murder you, to walk inside your house, to do whatever they wanted for God knows how long.
Yeah.
But it wasn't them. It was the politicians and the elected officials that gave them that power, because they were afraid of the people. So they needed a buffer in between them and the people. So when they did something fucked up, they can have somebody there to keep the people from fucking them up.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So therefore, they gave the police the limited power. If you understand the police, they really are nothing but order takers.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Police don't come up with no laws, no policies. They just take orders. But the people we elected in these offices, it don't matter if they're white, black, Democrat, Republican, liberal, progressive, conservative, they gave police the power to kill, the power to steal, the power to rob, the power to walk, to do whatever they want. So now the police are acting like spoiled children.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't do what we want anymore. You told us we can do what we want. So now, since we can't do what since we can't do what we want anymore, we want to take the ball and go home. And I'm gonna get off the phone, but I want to say this real quick. Since the funding of the police talk has been going on, have you noticed something? All of a sudden, the last couple of days, it's been a bunch of shootings, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I believe that the police are doing these shootings. When you look at it, was the incident. If you look online, there was an incident that happened yesterday in Atlanta at the Rashad Brooks Digital, right? They said 2 white boys pulled up in a truck and started shooting. But on the flip side, man, them brothers in Atlanta, boy, they came out with, man, bazookas and all kind of stuff, boy. They was letting up. They was really Swiss cheese. But and then when you look at like what happened in Seattle, and then all of these shootings that take place in Chicago, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. You know what? I do want to be a conspiracy theorist. I think the police are trying to, cause some trouble to say you need us. It's an old game. But with that being said, I'm gonna get off the phone, man, and listen more to the show. Peace, bro.
Oh man, greatly appreciated, my brother. Thanks again for calling, man. Thanks again, man. So what do you think about that? Brandi, I have definitely and actually last week I think it was or a week before then I talked about how I think there was like over 600 different videos of specifically law enforcement sabotaging the protests. And with the defunding movement going on, again, police are quitting. They have decided they're not going to do their jobs. And then I have also heard about the suspicion, and I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but I have heard about the suspicion of cops doing more sabotaging in the way that the caller described. What are your thoughts about what the caller was saying, Brandi?
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I could just go on facts and history. The COINTEL program, they infiltrated the Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, churches, SNCC. I even read that they infiltrated college fraternities and even high school groups. This is how evil and wicked these motherfuckers is. And we as Black people, we always think that white people in authority, they're They're good people. They can do this. No. Some of these motherfuckers are just pure wicked. And so when you hear about protests being sabotaged or stuff being set on fire, and then it's not even the protesters. If you watch the videos, the protesters are actually trying to stop these people, and we don't know who the fuck they are. You know what I'm saying? So we have the documented evidence on video, but we still asking ourselves, nah, man, cops won't do that. These motherfuckers will do anything. These motherfuckers is rotten to the core. That's their nature. And like, people don't understand something. Look, the Aurora Police, Richard Irving said in his speech that the Aurora Police Department is not the same as it was 30 years ago. I give him props. He's right. It's not the same. It's fucking worse. Because why should my 18-year-old son still be getting harassed by the same motherfucker that harassed me? See, you can't speak to accomplishments that the Aurora Police Department is progressive when every person I bump into got a fucking horror story. Cops pulling out guns on kids 12, 13, and 14 years old. Wow. That hasn't changed. And the most critical thing that Black people don't understand, we can implement policy, we can change laws, but it's the mentality. Yeah. That's the mentality. Some of these motherfuckers are raised in a culture that makes them think because they have a badge and a gun that they're special. Listen to this. If I'm white, and I have implicit bias, I'm racist, have a white supremacist ideology. I think less of Blacks and Latinos. Now, when I put on my uniform, my shield, and my gun, I don't change into a new person. Whatever I was before I put on that uniform, I'm the same motherfucker. But now I have the authority, the power, and a gun to back my prejudices and my bigotry and my racist. That's the problem right there. Whoever these motherfuckers were before, once they put that badge, gun, uniform on, that amplifies that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So like, we not only got to deal with the policies and laws, we also got to deal with the culture and the mentality. We dealing with apex white supremacy, apex white insanity. That's what we dealing with. Listen, if I was outside and a bunch of white people saw a man kicking a dog, they'll be outraged.
Yes, they would.
They'll call the police. Oh my God, how can you do this? We have seen videotapes where cops full-fledged just hammer a motherfucker to the ground and motherfuckers don't say shit. And then the first thing they ask, well, what did he do? You know what I'm saying? That's the mentality that we're dealing with. These motherfuckers ain't right. And so, like, we got to deal with the policies and laws, but we also got to deal with apex insanity, apex racism at the highest level. And like, even if a police officer is Black, you're still trained in an environment of white supremacy. And so when you see a Black person and a white person walking down the street, who you checking out mostly? Right. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
A group of Black brothers coming from the gym, like with their pants hanging, a group of white kids with skateboards. Who you harassing? Yeah. Like, you understand what I'm saying? That's mentality. Like, we got to deal with. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but have police, what's the word? Sabotage movements before? Yeah, like they have a history of doing it. That's what they do. Like, that's infiltration. Like, they're trained to do that. When you go to a protest, there's plainclothes police officers in the protest getting to know you.
Right.
What's your name?
Yeah.
Where you from? And then they do contact tracing to come and arrest you. That's what they're doing up in Aurora now. So, like, people don't understand. This shit is deep, and these motherfuckers ain't right. The Aurora police station act like they're in a bubble or a cocoon, like this doesn't affect them. It affects them the most because some of y'all white boys are rogue police officers with the badge and have been terrorizing Blacks and Latino community for over 25 years. And now you see there's small change coming, but that's only coming because motherfuckers applied the pressure to their ass. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. In the comments section, brother Terrence Scott, he happened to mention Officer O'Brien, and he was saying that this officer pulled a gun on him when he was 15, and he's 39 now. Guy's still on the force. So it just speaks to that generational terrorism, I like to call it.
That's deep. That's deep, fam. That's deep.
Yeah,
and you got to understand something. He said he was 14 or 15. Imagine how many other blacks and Latinos this white boy with a badge and a gun that did the same thing, but he's allowed to stay in the force because there's no accountability, and City Hall has not checked the police department and helped them accountable for actions like that. So it just continues.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. My brother Curtis Smith in the comments section, when it came to the review boards, he suggested, what if the civilian review board members be required to have degrees in criminal justice and know the laws of the police to have authority to impose punishment to the officers that break the rules? Would that work? What do you think?
It's a good idea, but how many of us actually have criminal degrees in justice? So that narrows the playing field. We want everyday people that go to work, come home, feed their family, pay their bills, to be on that board, like whether they have a degree, like whether they graduated from high school, like whether they in debt, like whether they got a car payment. We want everyday people to be in that board. So that's a good idea, but that limits the scope of the field, and only a few people would actually be up on the board. And then you got to ask yourself, if you have a degree in that, will you be controlled by the police? Will you be controlled by the city because you have a degree? So maybe they want to give you a little position. You know what I'm saying? Me and like Sadiq have been doing this for a minute, right? Mm-hmm. I've been offered to run for alderman twice, but we're not here for that. But that's the temptation when you get certain people up in positions that maybe they have a certain amount of knowledge. Hey, you might want to do this or do that. So I feel I may not be right, but my opinion is I believe the civilian or citizen review board would be best served by everyday people on all economical levels in Aurora to be up on the review board. And I think that would be right.
I get you. I feel you. Me myself, I'm a huge supporter of these oversight committees, community oversight committees. I definitely feel that the community needs to have a seat at the table when it comes down to discipline, when it comes down to promotions of all the inner workings of the police department in regards to how they quote unquote protect and serve the public. Now, whether or not, real quick, whether or not a person has a degree, I personally think it can help. I don't know if I believe that everyone needs to have a degree, but I think having being educated about the law, about certain aspects of the law, will be helpful, especially when it comes down to deciding whether or not a cop should be fired or not, what other reforms can be had or not. Having a degree in itself does not necessarily mean that that person is not going to be of use. It's not going to be impactful.
Let me say this, brother. Let me say this.
I'll be done real quick, and I'll be done.
Yes, sir.
And so again, I think you do need to have a mix of folks. I would not see how effective the person who has no knowledge of law, no knowledge of politics, local politics, or inner workings, to be as effective. So I do think that there does need to be a mix. I'm with you for sure as far as economic status. We need representation of the community, and the number of board members would also have to be clear to me as well. But go ahead.
I think the number of board members, it probably should like depend on the ward. I think they should come from each ward.
Good
And like
question.
you said, like with the degree, I believe maybe one or two should maybe have that degree or like that discipline, but the rest of the board should be regular people. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
but
folks with degrees are regular people, bro.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know what I'm saying though. But yeah.
Yeah,
But
I know what you mean though.
yeah,
I know
I agree with that. I agree with that. But I don't think everybody on the board should have a degree. I think maybe one or two who are trained in that discipline, so like they can help and stuff like that, kind of guide them. But yeah,
okay, well,
like an advisor,
like an advisor. Yeah, I mean, because they're part of it, and
right.
they care about what's happening, just like everybody else. But if they have specialized knowledge in a certain area of field, oh yeah, that I think that could be an asset to the committee,
right?
And it's and especially when it's not the days of the policing the police has to be over. We need to know what they know.
Exactly.
And as long as we don't know what our rights are, as long as we don't know what their rights are, oftentimes we're going to find ourselves, at this conjunction where we can't make progress because we button heads with these guys. But yeah, we need to know what they know. If anyone has any more calls, any more input they want to share in today's show, it is a call-in show. The number is 708-414-0849. Again, that's 708-414-0849. One of the comments from the section from Miss Sharon Elkins, she agrees that the strength of the Black Panthers was their knowledge of the law. They beat them at their own game by knowing the game. I think that's very important. Let me see here real quick. A lot of shouts out from other viewers. Good show. Looks like folks are feeling this, Brandi, man. Very informative today day that we're having. Before we get out of here, how and where can folks find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. Just type in Brandi Gilliam, or you can email me at bzgilliam, Gilliam at yahoo.com, or pobumsociety at yahoo.com. Also, there's a sister who has a second demand list. Her name is Sharonda. Okay. Sharonda, I forgot her. I think it's Robinson. Sharonda Robinson. And she has a page on Facebook. It's called Aurora Demand Forum. Okay. They're also in the trenches and stuff too. So you can also contact her or join that forum, and then you can find out what's going on. The group that I'm working with, we're like the rebel squad, like popping up everywhere. So, if you don't see me, like you see Sadiq. If you don't see Sadiq, like you see ghosts and stuff like that. So like we're just trying to make it happen. And I just want to say peace to Amber and people like that have been like helping out and supporting like everybody else up at the grassroots level that's been out there supporting us too. So I guess like just find us on Facebook, Brandi Gilliam, or find Sadiq Rashid, or find Ghost, the King Randall, or find Amber, or find Kayla, or just find us on Facebook. You know what I mean? And also find Sharonda is at Aurora Demand Forum too. So that's what we're trying to do.
All right. Well, I definitely wanted to thank you, my brother, for being a part of this, for sharing such good information with the public.
Thanks for having me, fam.
Very necessary. And with that being said, everybody, we're about to log up out of here. Nothing else to add. Enjoy your Sunday, and happy Father's Day to everyone. And we are out.
Peace, po bums.
All right.